What's up, guys? Welcome back to Have Faith, Show Love, Give Hope, the podcast. Today I have none other than Luis Gamez. What's up, Luis?
What's up, Yogi?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. So I met you at Toledo's Top Talent. A couple years ago, I had hosted, me and my wife hosted Toledo's Top Talent. You were one of the contestants. And that year you came in like fifth place?
Fifth place, yep.
Yeah. And then I know that you returned this year. I wasn't able to do it this year, but you returned this year and you came in second place.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're an amazing singer. And not that long ago, I was walking out of my studio and I seen you. You were walking to the Mud Hen Stadium and you were going to do...
that day I was doing the national anthem.
The national anthem.
Yep.
And there was like Hispanic Heritage Month or something day.
Yeah, I think it was because Julia Campos ended up doing the something after that. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember that you guys were there. I remember that day. And then after that, I was gonna ask you that day, do you want to do a podcast with me? But I really wasn't sure. But then I know that you're friends with Miggy, Cash Out Miggy, and Broken Heart Boy, Luis, or not Luis, you're Luis, Nate, Diego, all the guys that I've already had on the podcast. So yeah, even like Jack.
Yeah, I was telling Miggy right before you, I think I told you how a week before I was telling Miggy, I was like, I don't know when it's going to be my turn. He's probably not going to invite me. And then like that same weekend, you text me like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? I'm like, Miggy, look, you invited me. I was so excited.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you so much for coming and being on time. I know that you had like some work issues and stuff. You couldn't get off right at 6 o'clock. Yeah. But you made me aware and you showed up and everything was good. I appreciate that a lot because, sometimes people leave me hanging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what I do is like the first time that I have any guest on, I kind of want to know their story. How did you become Luis, the one that I'm sitting here with now? I know you're young but I know that you've been through some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know a little bit of your backstory, but the viewers don't know. So I want you to like tell me where you grew up at, what schools you went to and stuff like that. And like, how did you get into music? And then I'm just going to let you go. And then if I get a question during the time, I'll just stop you and ask you a question and stuff like that.
Luckily, Yogi, my favorite thing is to talk about myself. So you might hear me ramble on. But yeah, I really just started here in Toledo, Ohio. I was born and kind of just grew up in Toledo, Ohio. Growing up, I was a bad kid. I was bad. My mom I was outside almost every day. I guess I wasn't bad in the way I would do things, but I just wouldn't listen to my mom. She'd be like, quédate en la casa, stay home. You're not going out today. I'm like, ¿por qué no? Like, why not? Yeah. So there was one time I even snuck out through the window. Not really snuck out, but I was arguing with my brother and I was like, I'm just about to jump out the window. And I jumped out at like 8 years old. But growing up, I was just bad. I really wouldn't listen to anyone. I'd just go out, ride my bike, hang out with friends, like I mentioned. Not doing dumb stuff, but just wouldn't listen to anyone. In school, I was pretty good though. I was like when you saw me at Toledo's Top Talent, like a good boy. Like I was always on my best behavior, would say yes ma'am, shake people's hands, say hello to everybody. But outside of school, it was bad.
And what part of town did you grow up on?
I grew up on the east side. Still in the house I live in on the east side, right by the high level.
Okay, you still live there to this day?
Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, can say my neighborhood's never been bad. We've had like there's a house on our street where people move in and out of like every few years, and that's like we don't know what goes on there. But everywhere else has been pretty cool. We have kids that are going out now after COVID that are playing, and it's really cool to see it again. It's something I miss. I'm like, my little brother is still at home playing Call of Duty, which I'm not mad at him about it. I was like, I remember when I was his age, just feel like an old dude, like, oh yeah, I remember that. But I remember going out and playing and having fun, and it was just before I had a phone. So
everything's changing now. Like everything's like more inside the house.
Oh yeah, for sure. I remember even to play video games, I went to my friend's house once. I was like, hey, I'll buy Call of Duty off you for $10. He was like, I don't play it anymore, so here you go. And it was like it was more of a community. Like you knew everybody knew you, and it was just cool.
Yeah, everybody was riding their bikes.
Oh yeah.
So you were like in the Navarre district?
Yep. I live a block from Navarre.
Okay, yeah. So over there by Clark and Utah, that kind of stuff.
Live right by the library. I used to play at the library all the time. We used to go there.
Oh, okay.
You probably remember when we used to go there and print pictures just to color them.
Yeah, I used to live in Utah a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right down the street from me. Yeah, but that was me growing up. I was still singing. I remember we actually recorded Michael Jackson. It was one of his interviews. So they would play the entire thing and it would go like Thriller, his biggest hits. And I was like 10 years old before I found out he actually died. So I'd be at home telling him, I'm like, look, this is a new song. Because we never got that far. I'd be like, he dropped this song. This is a new song. Or like, look at his glove. I want the glove. And when I was in kindergarten, when I was 5 years old, that was the first time I sang in front of anybody. We had
when you were 5.
When I was 5 years old. Yep.
Okay.
I sang "You Are Not Alone" for my all of Navarre. And I remember my older brothers will vouch for this, but I remember looking to the crowd and I was like so nervous, just smiling. And it's like, "You were not alone," like all sad. And I'm over here like, "You are not alone." And everybody's just looking at me. And I remember my older brothers were like, "Oh, you made the teachers cry." And I tried so hard to find that video and I can't find it anywhere. But they would tell me like, "Oh, you made the teachers cry." Like it was so moving. And I was like, I was scared. So I actually peed myself that same day. Yeah, my mom was heated. I went to the bathroom.
Because you were nervous? Or?
Yeah, I was so nervous. And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to impress the girl I like. They're going to hear me sing." And so I get to the bathroom and then I like start getting nervous. Like my hands start getting all antsy. And I'm like, I forgot how to do my zipper and I just peed myself. My mom was like, "¿Por qué? ¿Por qué te meas?" And I was like, I don't know why I peed myself. And she was like, "No, ya no vas a, you're not going to do the talent show anymore." And I knew she was, but I was like, ah. And I get home. I actually got changed into a Michael Jackson outfit she bought me. So I showed up to school in all white, like the Smooth Criminal outfit. I think I had a pink shirt on though. I got my white fedora. I go up, I sing. I get down and all like the 6th and 8th graders, because I think they were still 6th and 8th grade in my school. They're all like, "Oh, you did really good." But I'm like, I'm little. They're just saying that. And then my 1st grade year, I sang again. 2nd year, I sang again. Third grade, they told us that they weren't having it anymore. And
it's like a competition, right? Like
just a little talent show.
Talent show, yeah, that's what they're called.
Yeah, we didn't. I guess the 1st year was a competition, but I don't even remember who won. I don't even think it was me. But yeah, after that, it was just talent show. Whoever went up, went up. But I think my 3rd and 4th grade year, there just wasn't enough people, so they just canceled it. And once I left, they were still not having them. So it was. I didn't get to sing again until I was probably in high school, because through 4th and 8th grade, my brothers would pick on me and be like, "Oh, you know how to sing, you know how to do this." I remember one time my dad walked in and he was like, "No sabes por qué cantas tan feo?" And I think he was messing with me. He was like, "Why do you sing like so terrible?" And I'm like,
that's mean.
I'm like, I'm not gonna sing it anymore. And I honestly think it was joking, because I had my headphones in and I was like kind of upset already. So I'm just like, oh, I think he meant it. And from 4th grade to 8th grade, I didn't sing again. I didn't try it. It wasn't until I got to high school where I was like, I'm going to try singing. I joined choir. Everybody in my 8th grade year, I was expecting to be like, "Oh, you're weird, you're in choir." But it was like, "Oh, you sing, so you should be in choir." And I was like, I guess. And so I joined choir. I met my favorite teacher in the whole world, Mrs. Morgan. She's the only reason I learned to sing as well as I did. Because when I joined her, I was okay. I was like fairly good. But just through the lessons and the time and patience she had with me, I grew exponentially. And she was a really cool teacher. She wouldn't necessarily let us get away with whatever we wanted, but like would give us the freedom we needed to grow. She recognized we were growing up, so we didn't want to listen to teachers. We didn't want to be in school. So it wasn't like, "Oh, we're the cool teacher, we're going to let you do whatever you want." She just understood us a little bit better. And I thought that was really cool. And I learned to love Mrs. Morgan. But the very first time I met her, it was the same first week of school, and she's singing with us, and we're down a tenor, which is the higher vocal range, or at least for men. And she goes, "Luis, can you sing this part?" I go, "I think." And I'm like, "Oh, it's the teacher standing next to me." So we circle around the piano. The stands are behind us, but there's like one guy here, one guy here, one guy here, which all sing super low. Like their vocal, they're just basses. They all sing really low. And so I'm like, it's really just me and the teacher right now that have to sing this part. And we're running through it. And at the end of rehearsal, she goes, "You're really fun to sing with." And I go, "Is that good or bad?" I was like, "She's just saying this because I'm new. Is that why?" And within a couple months, she's like, "Oh, do you want to go to contest with us?" I was like, I don't even know what contest is. So I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't even think about it. I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." And I thought about it after. I'm like, what's contest? Am I ready for contest? I was like, I don't look like Bruno Mars. I'm not like jacked. I'm not gonna be able to go. And so we keep going through the year, and she ends up inviting me to join show choir, which is from what I understood at that time, you could really only join in your 2nd year of high school, and once you've shown that you know how to sing. And she invited me as a freshman. I remember through all of the 4 years in high school, I was like, "Oh, I joined show choir as a freshman. Oh, I was one of the few that got invited as a freshman." So I don't know if that's true, if they really only invited sophomores and above, but I was invited as a freshman. So I always thought that was really cool. And then it came in spring where I was invited to contest, and I went, and that's where I don't know if you remember the last show I sang an operatic piece, and that song was the song I sang at contest my first year, and I was so nervous. I walked
like an opera type deal.
Yeah. It was any operatic piece, any choir piece you wanted, but she gave me a class C, which is a lower one, and it was just in Italian, so it was still really hard to learn because I was like, I don't know Italian. Yeah. She used to play these videos for me, and it wasn't until I got to college where I was like, I've been pronouncing this wrong the whole time. And I was like. It was like certain R's, you have to flip it, and it's just the whole thing. And I was like, I've been doing it wrong this whole time, thinking I was doing it right.
But still, you're still pretty good at it.
Yeah, it was just me being able to hit the notes. But then once I discovered more of the technique, it got a lot better. But when I was doing that, it was really fun. I remember I walked in, and my judge, who actually graded me, ended up being my professor in college, which I didn't know. I thought that was really cool. And I walk in there, and I'm going like this, just drying my hands. And the first thing he says to me after everybody sits down, because everybody went in there, you know, you can maybe have 1 or 2 people if they want to go, but you can have as many as you want. All of my choir, I was like, oh, it's my turn. All quiet, being the shy kid. I was like, it's my turn to go. And everybody's like, oh, let's go watch Luis. Let's go. He's a freshman. You know, it's going to be cool. I was like, I walk in there and it's just a wide open classroom, me at the very front, everybody at the side smiling, and the professor right down the middle. And and he goes, are your hands dry yet? And I go, nope. And I just keep going. And for like another 10 seconds, he goes, whenever you're ready. And I look at my choir teacher and I go, you know, giving her the sign like, oh, I think I'm ready. So you can start. She starts. I do it. And I get back to my class. And for like an hour, they have us wait before they actually give you your score. And so we go down for lunch and I see I got a 2. The highest you can get is a 1. So I was like, oh, I failed. Like I was terrible. I was like, I'm never going to sing again. And my teacher was just like, it's fine. You're a freshman. Like as a choir, as a group, we got a 1. So it was like, oh, we still passed. Okay. I still didn't get the lowest score, which is like a 5, I think. So,
okay.
You know,
so you still did good.
Yeah. But in my mind as a freshman, I'm like, oh no, I did terrible. I'm never going to redeem myself. And my sophomore year came, and that was when I went to Mexico at the beginning of the year, and I came back and I lost a bunch of weight. I was like super thin, like not super thin. I was never skinny, but like I was thinner. And I was like, oh, you know, I feel like really confident. I'd walk around and like smile and be happy. And then I went into choir, and we were always having fun. We were always laughing. It was really like the best year of high school for me. And then my junior year came, and COVID happened. And it was like we got to work from home. And honestly, when we were from home, we didn't do much of choir. Like she gave us sheet music, but I'll be honest, I was one of the very many that didn't look at it once. I was just like, oh, working from home for school. So I was like, it doesn't matter. It's not real work. And so I would sit there and not look at it once. And then we got to my senior year, and that's when I had to audition for BGSU. And I was like, oh, I'm scared, because we had a new music teacher, which a lot of people weren't a fan of, including myself. But that's a story for another day. But I was like,
oh. So your one teacher, the one that you really liked, left?
She retired my junior year. Yeah. When we came back, she was like, oh, I'm going to retire. And I was like, oh, I'm stuck for my last year with someone I don't know. Yeah. And so we came back my senior year, and it was fine. She actually ended up coming back to help me prepare for it. So it was kind of like in the movies when you're like, oh, this person left. And then like a couple of seasons later, they come back and they're like, oh, I'm here to get everything back in order. That's what she was for me. She just came back, fixed my voice, and she was like, I'm leaving again. And it was a cool experience, though. I joined a program called Music Plus, where we got to go to BGS seniors in high school, and they just helped us improve even further. So I never really got set back after like leaving elementary school, when I got kind of discouraged by my dad and just not being able to do what I wanted. But aside from that, I never joined like a church choir. My mom always wanted me to, but I was like, I don't like singing in church. As much as I like to sing, I like to sit in church and just listen. I've never been the type to be like, oh, I want to go up and sing. Like for Christmas, I went there and sang Las Mañanitas, or Happy Birthday, and Cielito Lindo. And I was like, oh, that's as much as I'm going to sing in church. I don't really want to join their choir, but you just didn't want to be part of the whole thing. I just kind of enjoy being myself. And a lot of people are like, oh, he's stuck up, he's quiet, but I'm just like, no. I'm just vibing.
You know, I have a platform, and I talk a lot and stuff, but I don't like that either. Like I don't like when people bring me up to the stage. I'll go because I'm confident. And if somebody says, hey, come up here and talk, I'll go and do it. because I have confidence.
Yeah.
But I don't like to be the center of attention.
Me either. Like I'll go up, like it's different like when I'm singing, like for a competition like Toledo Stop Talent, I'll go up and I'll like have the most stage presence I can. But like if I'm just sitting somewhere and they're like, oh, you're Luis. I'm like, yeah, it's me. And like I'll talk to them and chop it up, but it's never like, oh yeah, I'm Luis. Like, how are you? Like it's just like I'm me. Even when some of like the local artists stuff come up to me and they're like, oh, what's up, man? I'm like, this is my name. And you know, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, what's up? I'm Luis. I just make music. So I was like, I always tell Miggy, like, I'm nobody. I'm just a normal person.
Yeah.
Like, even if I do blow up in a couple years and get millions of listens, like, I'm just still gonna be me. At least I hope so. But I just don't like the.
Well, you're humble, so
yeah,
you're a humble person. Ever since I met you, you've been super humble, just a regular dude.
I try because me and Miggy have met enough people, like even just us alone, where they're like, oh, we don't want to work with you, or you know, you're not one of us. You know, you're not a real artist. This isn't this, and it's like. Whatever. Yeah. Like
oh well, they're lost.
Right. Like well, we're gonna do our own thing. You do your thing. Yeah. We never really get discouraged. We're just like, if you don't like us, you don't like us. If you do, whatever.
Yeah. I like everything you guys do. So how did you start singing in Spanish though? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's a cool story. I'm glad you asked, Yogi. So actually,
was it in Mexico or before that?
It was after. I was really discouraged. I was in college. And I was trying to ask my professor, can you teach me something in Spanish?
Oh, where did you go to college?
I went to BG for a single semester. So not very long, but I went for a single semester. Yeah. Yep. And that's where I met Dr. Scholl, which was my professor. And he was really cool. He taught me how to really improve my voice. I was there for the semester, but I really just took what he taught me and just kind of, I practice on my own now. So it's like, oh, I'll remember this. And it's like, oh, you remember how to fade it differently. But as far as me learning in Spanish, it was my fourth or fifth rehearsal within just one-on-one studio time with him. And I was like, do you know anything I can learn in Spanish? And he's like, I'll look into it. And he did look into it for me, but it was more Spain Spanish. And deep down, I knew I wanted to do more mariachi. Yeah. And I was like, I want to sing something mariachi though. Like I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to tell anybody. Because I was like, I was scared to fail. So I was like, I don't want to tell him like, oh, I'll do Cielito Lindo or El Rey or Volver Volver. So I was like, what if I do it and I suck? So I was like, one night, I'd been going to this karaoke by myself, and I hadn't even told my girlfriend at the time that I was going, but I just kind of went, and I was like, I'm going to try mariachi. I sat in my car for, I think, 2 hours practicing Volver, Volver, and I was like, y volver, 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 and I was like, it doesn't sound how I want it to. And so I got discouraged, and I was like, I'm just going to go home. The next day I woke up, and I was like, so what? I didn't know how to sing to begin with, and I still did it. So I was like, I practiced for another month. And it was funny that you asked me that because last week I actually sang it the first time for an actual mariachi and it was at BG. But during this time, I was like, I don't want to sing. I don't want to sing mariachi. I don't want to sing in Spanish anymore. I don't even want to sing anymore at all. So I went into the mariachi, the karaoke like a month later. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And I'm like, hey, can you play Volver Volver on the thing? And he goes, what's that? And I go, here, this is the video I need. And he's like, oh, okay, I got it. And actually, I still remember her. She was pretty cool. She invited me out a bunch of times, and she would always be at the karaoke. But she told me, she's like, yeah, anything that's on YouTube, I can play for you. Okay. And so I pulled up the Volver Volver video, and it was the worst video I found. It was the worst quality, but I was like, my voice isn't going to be any better. And so I sing it, and everybody goes crazy. And I was like, oh, they liked it. And I was like, I didn't expect that. And I'm looking out in the crowd, not one Mexican in sight, not one Latino person. It's just all white people. And I was like, they liked it though.
But if they like it, that means
that's why I was like, that's crazy. And so a couple weeks later, I was talking to my girlfriend at the time. I was like, do you want to go out to karaoke? She was like, yeah, and I'll record it. And I was like, okay. And so this was,
you're a little nervous.
This was November 10th. And I only know that because I looked at it the other day, but this was November 10th. She records it and I post it that weekend on Saturday. And I was like, oh, I'm scared. No one's going to like it. I think it has like 8,000 views even right now on my current channel or my current TikTok. So I was like, oh. I was like, they liked it. And from there was when I just started to practice more mariachi. Because I was super scared. I was like, they're not going to like it. They're going to hate me singing mariachi. Yeah. I'm not going to sound good. And once I sang it and I saw just everybody liked it, I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep singing more and more mariachi. And that's where I learned to sing Spanish. Because I was super scared. My mom never got the chance to hear me sing in Spanish. Yeah. And I was just... It was such like a big thing to me because I was like, I don't want people to think I'm faking it. I don't want people to think I'm not trying enough. And it was just me going back to like the basics of singing that I was like, all right, I can't sing in my throat all the time. I can't sing in the front of my mouth or in my nose. And people who sing will like get like the nose thing, because I was just talking to Stephanie the other day and she was like, I don't know how to stop doing that. And I was like, you just kind of pinch your nose, you do weird things and it works out. But it was like having to get out of the habit of singing opera and choir pieces. And I think I was telling Stephanie too, it's like you find your own voice and you just stop singing. You stop singing Vicente's Volver, Volver. And even though mine sounds very similar, I like all mariachi music does, it has some of my characteristics in it. And it's like I slide around, I emphasize different words because different words mean different things to me and him. And it's just, that's where I kind of learned it, was just being afraid of it, but knowing I could conquer it, and just went ahead and did it within a few months and just learned it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you made it your own kind of style. So you took him away from it, and like you said, you made it your own style, right?
Yeah, I've had a few people ask me, they're like, "Oh, why'd you do this differently, or why'd you do this?" And I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but it's like I used to tell my ex-girlfriend, like I do everything for a reason. If I don't sing this part like the way he does, it's for a reason. Might be to make it easier, or might be because it doesn't have as much expression or emotion as it used to. Because, you know, things back in the day when Vicente was alive definitely are different than what they were now. So it's like, or even to myself, it just means different things to me. So I just add little things. When I do my grito, it might not be the best one, but it's definitely, and I really don't care because it's definitely just still me.
Yeah.
And I'd rather do me than try to fake Vicente's yell or Juan Gabriel's scream at the end of his song. It's like, I just want to do myself.
Yep. And I think you should do that. Just be you. Always be yourself in this world, and people will love, you know what I mean? Love that about you, because you're not faking it. You're not trying to be somebody else. You're actually being authentic in yourself. You know what I mean? How did you even learn? You always speak Spanish? Your mom, your dad at
my
home?
mom and dad are from Mexico. My mom was from Lagos de Moreno in Jalisco, and my dad was from Zacatecas. So kind of got the world of like, my dad was from a ranch. My mom was like a city girl. So it was kind of weird growing up because we'd ask them things and my dad's like, no, it was like this. My mom was like, no es cierto, era así. And we're like, all right, I'm going to listen to my mom. She's more dominant when the way she speaks. So it was really funny growing up, but that's where I learned Spanish. And a lot of the terms my dad uses and from like El Rancho weren't the same as my mom. Yeah. So it was really weird having to learn both. But it definitely improved our Spanish. It helps us a lot. Even now, that's how I got the job at Owens Corning, was speaking Spanish. So.
Oh, yeah. So that helps you translate and stuff sometimes?
Yeah, it helps me translate like calls, obviously, but the words, like the mariachi I just joined, I was asking them, I was like, do they know what the song means? And it's like when I explain music, even to Miggy, and Miggy sometimes I can tell he probably gets annoyed, but I just have so much emphasis and such an emotion when I'm explaining things like volver, volver. Like it's like he wants her to come back. Y volver, volver is like what he would do. He's gonna come back, or she's gonna come back regardless of what happens. He's entranced or really engaged with her. So he's like wants it to happen. Yeah. Y volver, volver, and that's why he sings it with so much passion and emotion.
Yeah, that's like it means return, right?
Yeah.
Volver, like come, like return to me or something.
He's like the love will come back, or I will come back and get the love. So it's such a strong piece, and that's why when he sings it, it's like you kind of just drop everything and you're like, y volver, volver, volver. To your arms, I'll come back. And it's, I really like that song, but it's like a lot of people don't really understand what it means. Yeah. And that's why when I perform it, I like to have a lot more emotion in it. Cause I'm like, I want them to get it. I want them to understand that this is a love song. It's not a song about me being angry or upset. It's like I'm upset because I'm in love, because I'm trying to fight for it.
Yeah. Like fight for your love to come back or something, right? Yeah, and then what you said, Miggy, you explained to him, like, like what the meaning is to the song.
Like when the very first time I met him, there's a song called Agape, I think it's pronounced, AGPAPE, I think, and it's just an instrumental. And like the first or second time I met him, we were driving around, and I'm like, this is what the song means to me. There's no words in it, but I was like, this song is like such a strong piece. Like it's so quiet at the beginning, and it climbs up, and it just goes back to quiet. And I was like, it just means like whatever I thought it meant at the time. It's like you starting off like so quiet and so powerless, and you get all the power back, but then you drop down, and it's like you're back down to where you were, and it's kind of just a constant cycle, because it really doesn't end off on like a higher or negative note. It's just like in the middle. So it kind of leads you to believe what's coming up next. And that song's completely up to your interpretation. You could listen to it and be like, oh, he's sad, he's happy, and he's sad again. So it's like whatever you think it is. And Miggy was like, and I got done explaining it to Miggy, and I was like, well, maybe it's just songs. And he was like, yeah, it's just how you interpret it. And I was like, yeah, like that's really all it is. But it's just, I find so much joy and fun in discovering what it means, what it meant to that person when they wrote it, and what you can make it mean and what it means to you.
Yeah. How did you even meet Cash Out Miggy at the?
We met.
Toledo's
the very
Top
first time we
Talent?
met was because of Toledo's Top Talent. We were at Eastside Cantina.
Okay.
And I brought my speaker, and there was a band playing, and Melinda goes, "Do you want to sing Happy Birthday to the owner of Eastside Cantina?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll sing it." And she sees Miggy outside. And you know how persuasive Melinda can be. She's like, "Miggy, come here." And Miggy's looking at me like, "Bro, I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Just do whatever." Me trying to be positive, like, "Yeah, just do whatever song you want." And he goes, "I don't know, bro. I don't know which one to do." And I was like, "Well, which ones do you have?" And he's trying to show me, but I can't hear it. So I'm like, "Just do that one." And I feel like he knew that I was like, couldn't hear it, because he just looked at me like you're BSing me right now. Like, you don't know what I just played. And I'm like, "Just do it."
Yeah, because the music was playing in the background.
Yeah,
and
you
stuff.
couldn't hear anything. And even when he went up with my speaker, you could not hear him. And it wasn't anything to him or like to the speaker. It was just everybody was talking. And they heard rap and they were like, "I don't like it." But even me, as someone who didn't really know his music at the time, I was like, "I like it." I was like, "I like Miggy. Miggy's pretty cool."
Yeah, Miggy's
and so
fire.
I was like, I went up there, I sang Las Mañanitas, and he kind of walked away discouraged, which I would have too, because everybody kind of ignored him. But that's where the first time we met. And he was telling me about it the other day. He was like, "Oh, you were pretty cool." He was like, "You were trying to like hype me up and tell me what to do." So I was like, at least he got that from me.
Yeah.
He didn't think I was like just some guy that was like BSing him all the time. Where I was like, "Oh yeah, bro, like you'll do good and like you'll kill it." He saw the genuine side of that.
Yeah.
And then we went to Texas, and that's where we really like met. Like we were in the bus and we were like, "Oh, let's just all sing this portion of a song and see what we think." And we're all singing random parts. He's singing random songs, and we're just all laughing, having fun. We get to the Airbnb and we all have to sleep together in the same room.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if we don't like each other, we all have to be here.
Yeah.
And so we're all sleeping in the same room. I think Nate's on the bed, me, Miggy, and Eddie, Miggy's brother, all sleeping on the ground. And we're just like all laughing nonstop, like just giggly. Because I think we were just like slap happy at that
Just
point.
having fun.
We were so tired of being in the car.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to go out. We were like, you know what, let's just stay in the room and do whatever. We were just happy, just giggling for like hours. And so we wake up the next day and we're all talking, we're playing pool, we're chopping it up. And it's like, I didn't really feel like a stranger to them. And they never really felt one like towards me, I think.
Yeah.
It was more like a mutual friendship that we already knew we had. It just hadn't started yet. And so we get back, and within the same week, we write Siete Días. And I was at work that same week on Monday, I think, because nobody goes into the office, and I'm writing the lyrics. I'm like, "Que sirve de trabajar? What's the point of working?" I was like all moody, and my job's super easy, so I have no reason to say that. But I'm like, what's the point of working? I hate working.
Yeah.
I get paid just to waste all my money. And I was like, it's more of a personal problem than it is what I get paid. And I'm like, oh, I hate working, to not have anything. And so Miggy had already made a song with the lyrics he used, and he was like, "Oh, I actually already had these for another song." We're like, "Let's just try it. Like if it sucks, it sucks. Oh well." And so we go to Nate's house. And Nate's like, "Oh, I got a beat." And we're like, "Oh, Nate Jimenez is gonna pull a beat from somebody he knows, because he knows a bunch of people." And we go on YouTube and we look up mariachi type beat. And we're like, all right, that's as good as it's gonna get. And we play the very first one and we're like, let's just try it. Let's try to freestyle. Pull out my lyrics and I'm singing mariachi. Pulls out his lyrics and he's rapping on it. And we're like, this sounds pretty cool. And so we try it again, and I'm writing more as we go. And that's how we ended up writing that song.
And you guys made a video and everything, right?
Not a video yet.
Oh,
we're planning on making it next summer, because we want it to be like a mariachi video.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With like hints of rap to make it
a
little bit more authentic. But that's how we started. And after that, I was like, Miggy's not gonna hit me back. He didn't like the song. And me and Miggy booked studio time. We recorded it at least 3 or 4 times. And we were like, these sound terrible. We don't like any of these. And it was super staticky in one. The other one had our vocals really weird. The other one had our vocals really loud. We're like, we don't like these. So we ended up booking a studio time with Roach. And that's where we recorded these Siete Días, the one we ended up posting. And Miggy still to this day is like, should I write a second verse, bro? Should I write a second verse? And I'm like, no, it's cool. And when we perform it, it's really cool, because me and him will like kind of be like pushing each other around. We're like, oh, what's the point of working? Because we're upset.
Yeah.
And at the end of the song, I like take off my hat and I'm like, hold it to my heart, and I'm like, and I sit down on the edge of the stage. Everybody loves that part, and I'm just like, I just did it one night thinking it looked cool. I was like, I'm just gonna try it, and now every time we perform it like that, and
that's fire.
Yeah.
And where you guys perform a couple times already?
The first time we performed it at, where was it? The club that closed, Club Soda.
Oh yeah.
We performed it there, and we performed it at different clubs. Dave Sanchez, I think, invited us out a few times. So it's been pretty cool. The times we get to perform it, everybody likes it. Not sure if it's because they're drinking or whatever, but they seem to like it. So
no, people like it, man. People like what you guys are doing. You guys get mad love, especially because like Toledo's like a lot of like, you know, Chicanos, Mexicans, Cubans, you know, different Latinos, but we're all right here, and we all support you, man. That's why, you know, I've had a lot of you guys on here, but I wanted to have you on here because I know that you got, you know, you got a story and to tell. Tell me a little bit about why you said that your mom never heard you sing Spanish.
Yeah, so like I said, when I was growing up, I was really scared of singing in Spanish. And honestly, growing up, I hated Mexican music. But I think that was just
me too, bro.
Me being little about it.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, who wants to listen to bachata in the middle of the day? Who wants to listen to cumbias? And now that I grew up, I listen to Los Angeles Azules, Bronco, all the old bands, Los YOGI'S, everybody. And when I was little, though, I was like, I don't want to sing in Spanish. Deep down, though, I'd see my mom dance. My mom was amazing at dancing. My dad was too, and they would just dance. I'd be like, how does he not step on her? You'd see my mom spinning. She'd like smile the entire time. She'd like rock her body. I'm like, how? How do you do that? But I was so jealous, I didn't even try. I was just like, I'm never going to get there, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, every time they go up, I'm going to be like, can we leave? Can we leave? And we would stay till, you know how Latinos are. You stay there till like 1 to 2 in the morning. You're sleeping on the chairs. You get up and you try to act
still
like
dancing.
Yeah, you try to act like you're sleeping in the car when you get home. They wake you up. They're like, nah, vente a caminar, go inside. All right.
Yeah.
And so, but growing up, I hated Mexican music. And then once I got to high school, I was like, this isn't too bad. But that's when I started listening to Los Angeles Azules, all like the bands, all the grupos. And then once I got into my senior year, I started listening to mariachi and everything. But I just hadn't practiced it yet. So it wasn't until I got to college, or at least when I dropped out, when I would sing it. But once I dropped out, I was kind of discouraged about dropping out. And I was just like, I don't want to sing anymore.
Dropping out from college?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like my mom just wanted, she wasn't upset with me or anything, but I knew she saw better things in my life. And I was like, I was so discouraged after I dropped out. I didn't want to, it wasn't my place, and I loved learning. I just hated school. So I think she recognized that too. She was like, I'm not going to make him do something that he's going to be unhappy doing. But I could tell she also wasn't the happiest or the biggest fan about it.
Yeah, of course.
But she never threw it in my face. But I was just so discouraged. I never even sang in my room anymore. I never sang anywhere. And it wasn't until she was in the hospital for the month she was there that I saw the poster for Toledo's Top Talent. And I was like, what is this? And I like just screenshotted it. Never really thought I was going to do anything with it. Honestly, I thought it was fake at first. I thought it was like one of those things where it's like a casting call and it's like, sign up here and you'll be able to enter. I was like, I'll just screenshot it, look into it later. And I was just so distracted by being in the hospital. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I started thinking about it. And there was one night I got to stay in the night with my mom in her room, and she wasn't awake for the month she was there. So I never got to talk to her again, but I just sat there.
Your mom was like in a coma or something?
She had a brain aneurysm. So it was kind of like in a coma stage. She just couldn't, she never woke up. She never was able to move. She would like groan, but we think it was just more of like the body doing its thing than it was her trying to talk. But there was one night where I got to stay with her, and I was just like thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to make of my life? And I think there was one night I was driving home, and I was just like, Ma, like, what do you want me to do? And I was kind of thinking to myself as how she would respond. She's like, because this is what she would always say to me. She'd be like, when she saw me upset, that when I dropped out, she'd come to my room. She'd be like, levántate, cabrón. Con el pecho para arriba y con la panza sumada. And I was like, with your chest out and your stomach sucked in because you're just confident. She was like, levántate, cabrón. And I just kept saying to myself, I was like
stand up.
Yeah, I was like, levántate. And I was like, and do what? And I was like, levántate. And I was like, but do what? And that's when I remembered I have the screenshot of Toledo's Top Talent, so I'm going to sign up. And I remember I opened all my windows, and I was like, voy a ganar. Yo voy a ganar por ti. I'm going to win, and I'm going to do it for you. And it was when I lost, it wasn't like I lost her or I lost it. Because I was like, I lost, but I did it. And it was something I didn't think I could do. I didn't think I was going to finish. I didn't think I was going to sign up. So me losing wasn't a big thing. But when I was still in the hospital, I was like, what am I going to do? And I still hadn't made up my mind. I still haven't done anything. And she ended up passing away. And she never got to hear me sing the mariachi that I ended up singing at Toledo's Top Talent. And the first time I sang Volver, Volver, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like singing Volver, Volver. And she never got to hear me at that level of where I got being able to sing. And I'm still improving, but that was definitely like the peak of where I had been. I had practiced for so long. And I don't know if you remember, but that was when she was in the hospital, I got sciatica, which is like a nerve pain you get. And I couldn't walk. And in the hospital, I was cracking it, but it was just kept getting worse and worse. And my ex-girlfriend at the time, actually, when she would spend the night, there were some nights I couldn't sleep. And I have like a brick wall, and I would just be punching it and punching it. Like my hand would like bruise. I could feel like my bones like shatter a little bit and get like micro fractures. But I was like, I can't sleep. I would do anything but exercise. And it got to the point where I was like, she would go to the store, we'd go to the store, and I would just kind of sit there and be like, you can go in. And I kind of felt like I had lost myself. And so when I joined Toledo's Top Talent, it really didn't help me, but me being up and forcing myself to do those things really did. And when me and my girlfriend broke up later on, it kind of pushed me to like find who I was again. So I was like, nobody's gonna want to date me being as big as I used to weigh 255 when I broke up with her. And so I was like, I'm huge. I can't walk. I barely sing anymore. And so I started to work out, and I was like, oh, it hurts. Like, I don't want to walk. And when I would walk, I'd like limp, and everybody would be like, why do you walk like that? And I'm like, I don't know.
You have nerve damage.
Yeah, I haven't been able to walk. And I ended up going to a doctor. They're like, it's either you do these workouts that we're telling you to do, or you go get surgery. And I was like, I'm not getting surgery. And I didn't even do the workouts they said, but I was like, I've worked out. I did a bunch of sports in high school. I was like, I know how to get myself kind of in better shape. So I started to go to the gym, started to stretch out. And one of the last things my mom said to me was, mijo, te quiero ver sano. She wants to see me healthy. And I was like, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get healthy. And so that's kind of where I just started to gain more weight, because I got discouraged, and I was like, I'm never going to meet my mom's expectations. And her expectation wasn't for me to get like super buff and skinny. It was just be healthy. And so when she died, I was like, I have to do it. And when I was with my girlfriend, I was kind of distracted, because you know how it is being in a relationship. You're with them, you're with your family, you're with work. And I wanted to do music on top of that. So I'm doing that. And it was so many things piled up on me. And
you almost forget about yourself.
Yeah. And it was like being out of college, just dropping out, and that in the back of my mind. So I was like, I don't know how to structure any of this. And I was like, I needed time to figure it out for myself. And so we ended up breaking up. And like I said, I started going to the gym. I got my job at Owens Corning, started to save money and find myself. And it wasn't until recently that I became happy. But in that time, when I was working out, I was like, oh, I can't walk. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember hearing this quote where I was like, if you can't walk, you got to crawl. And I'd get in my chair at home. I had a little metal chair, and like I'd have to clean. I was like, I have to clean my room. I don't want to look like a messy pig. So I'd like sit down and just roll around with it. I'd be like, all right, I'm picking this up. And I would like have to take breaks, not because I was out of breath or tired, but because my back would hurt so bad. And I'd be like, oh, this sucks. And Miggy used to make fun of me, because we'd go out and I'd be at his house, and he'd be like, why do you got to go home so early? I'm like, bro, my back is killing me. He'd be like, oh yeah, your back. And he was like jokingly saying it, but I was like, hey, this is my back though. And I was like, oh.
He doesn't understand.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I have back pain. But I was like, this is different. Like I've had back pain growing up and like working at Walmart, you know, you get lifting heavy stuff, but this was worse. And so working out really helped that. And now I weigh 225. I weighed myself the other day at 225, lost a bunch of weight, and still trying to get down to 190. But getting to this level was terrible at first. I would sit in the sauna. Because of my back, it would warm up, like it'd make me like frustrated. So I like getting hot really quick. And I would only be in there for like 5 minutes. I'd be like, no, I got to get out. I feel like I'm going to pass out.
It gets so hot.
And now I sit in there for like 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, this is easy. I don't know how I used to struggle with this. I lift weights now. I was able to squat the other day. I was like, this feels really cool. I'm able to run now. And I was like, oh, like I'm getting back to who I was. And I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, not that I want a relationship, but it's like I miss having like a companion, especially now that I know how to manage everything. Like I'm saving money. I have my dream truck, which is a 1994 Ford Ranger. So it's like when people look at me, they're like, why do you drive an old truck? I'm like, 'cause I don't want a new one. I like my old truck. And it's like I'm starting to dress better again. I can buy my own clothes. I'm buying clothes that fit me better now too. So it's like I found myself after all of that, after my mom passed, after I thought I was going to give up on singing, after breaking up with my girlfriend of 2 years, after losing in Toledo's Top Talent. I was like, I have nothing left. I was like, well, I got to grow from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't just drop everything and give up.
Yeah.
I was like, what kept replaying in my head was levántate, cabrón.
Yeah.
And I just remember that night driving home where I was like, voy a ganar. My tears were rolling down my eyes. I was like, voy a ganar por ti. If I don't win for anybody else, it's going to be for you. And the day I lost, I remember her saying, no lo hagas por mí, hazlo por ti. And that's when I was like, that's when it clicked. I was like, all right, I need to figure everything out. I need to figure out how I'm going to do it. And then this year when I got second, I wasn't discouraged. I was like, I did my best.
Yeah.
I can't say that I went out there and I should have done this, this, and this like I did the first show when I couldn't walk. I was like, should have done better stage performing, should have walked, should have done this. Now I had no excuses. So it was like, I just did my best. If I came in second, I came in second, whatever.
Yeah.
But
I'm proud of you, man. You did really good. Like,
thank you.
Even when you came in fifth, I was there. I was like, for sure. It was, Angelique was really good, but you were just as good. Like, it could either go whichever way. We know the judges picked her, whatever. And even I didn't go to the second one, but I did see it, some of the videos and stuff. And it was you and
me, Oscar, Meche.
But it was like first and second was you and Oscar, right? Oscar.
We went up there and I was just like, hey, like, congrats. Like, we made it. Whatever happens, happens. And I have no remorse for him. He was proud of me and I gave him a hug after. I'm like, like, this is it. Like, we're in the peristyle. And I was actually, it was funny because leading up to the show, I was like, I have to sing opera. I was like, it's in the peristyle. When I was younger, I used to tell my mom, I want to sing here because my little brother's in El Corazón de Mexico. So he used to dance there every year. And I was like, I want to sing here though. But I was like, I never knew how I was going to get there. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to have to do, if I'm going to have to get famous first, but I want to sing in here. So when I got to sing there, I was like, I'm going to do opera. I have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm going to do opera. I went up there and I actually did Ride on King Jesus. And it was like, the story I told for that was when I was in high school, my mom was still she didn't want me to sing yet. She wanted me to be a doctor, a police officer, something that was not a fallback, but was reliable, like
more stable.
It was gonna be there regardless of what happens. And so when I dropped out and she saw that I was still studying music performance in high school, though, she didn't want me to do it. And so it wasn't until I did the Music Plus program I was telling you earlier about, she was like, at the end of a show, she came up to me and she said, "Cantas muy bonito, mi Chino." She didn't say it like that. She said it with so much more love and care, like a mom would. And it just felt so warm. I remember I wanted to cry right in front of her, but I was like, thank you. And I just walked away because I couldn't find anything else to say. So she might have thought I was ignoring her or I didn't accept it, but I was like, I don't know what to say because you've never said this to me. And a lot of the things that my ex-girlfriend used to get mad about was I never said I love you to her, at least for like the first couple of months. Because we never said that to each other. Me and my mom, my dad, my siblings, we never really said I love you. And it wasn't because we didn't want to, it was just we already knew. So it was like when she said that and she emphasized the love of me singing, I was like, it was like at the end of Coco, like, oh,
it makes you feel good. Like, because we all want to feel wanted. We all want to feel like we're doing something good.
And it was after that she was like, oh, when's your next show? When are you going to sing again? And I was like, you want to know? Like, you want to be there? And I was like, oh, well, this is my next show at high school. And this is my show in this. And I actually got to perform in our operatic show in college. And she went. And after the show, they were all waiting for me in the lobby. And I was like, oh, it's going to be like my first year of high school where they didn't really care. And they're all waiting for me like, you did really good. All of my siblings, my dad, my mom. And I was like, this is weird. You guys don't usually say this to me. And when I lost in Toledo's Top Talent, I went home and they said the same. I went home like kind of discouraged. I was like, I lost. And like I said, I didn't think about it in that specific moment, but I was like, I promised my mom I was going to win. So I went home and I was like, I did win. My family was all together. And it was the first time in so long after she passed that I was like, we're all here. We're all upset, but it's like we're all upset together. And it was really cool. And I was like, I did win. And my mom's picture's right behind us, right by the dining room table. So it was like, she's here. She's here. We're all here. We're all talking, having fun. And it was really cool. So it was like, I never really felt like I lost in any situation. And I think that was a big part thanks to my mom. Because even when I felt at the lowest, you would see this woman driving around downtown for her friends. She'd be at church every Sunday, never losing hope in anything. And I'd be like, how? Even now I look back and I'm like, how did she do it? I get discouraged at me like dropping a pencil in the morning. And I'm like, I don't want to go to work anymore. And she would be 5 minutes late, get dressed, do her makeup in the car, and be there on time. And I'm like, how? How did she find the energy to do this? And by losing weight, and I've always believed in God, but going to church and just kind of questioning it within myself when I was hurting my back, I was like, is this like a challenge? Like, is this something that I have to go through? Is this something I have to work through? And it was like, I was asking my dad the other day, I was like, who is the king that asked for wisdom rather than power? And he was like, Era Salmon. And I was like, I think that's his name. I think. So if I said it wrong, I think I just said salmon, but whatever. I was like, who is the king? And he was like, it was this king. And I was like, now when I go to the gym, I'm like, give me the strength that you gave your disciples. Like when I'm feeling low and I'm just like, I don't want to work out, but I'm like, God, just give me the strength you gave your disciples to follow you. And I won't do it for my glory. I'll do it for yours. And it's like, I think that's how she found the strength. Because she was a very, very religious woman. And growing up, I was like, why is she always at the church and not with us? But I found out why. And it just brought so much power and meaning into her life. Like the meaning that I find with music is what the church brought her. So I was like, I get it now. And I used to be upset and be like, why does she want to go to church rather than be with me? But it wasn't that. It was she was going to the church to find herself, to find the love for us. Because without that, she would have never been able to accept us as much as she did. She definitely wouldn't have been able to put up with us when we were younger because we were all bad. We would fight. My brother broke his toe on my other brother's head. We chipped our tooth. I chipped my tooth skateboarding. We would always find a hobby. You know how kids are. You find a hobby every other week. And she just always found the time and energy to put up with us. And it was because of that. Just because she did believe so strongly in what she was doing in the church. And I kind of found that strength within myself.
Well, she's trying to set an example. That's what she's going to church, hoping one day you guys jump on and go with her.
And the difference with some parents I find is some parents go just to go. They don't listen. They don't do anything. And my mom, she was a catechist, so she would teach it. And then after we would be in the car and she would be like, Chino, ¿qué significó eso? Like, what does this mean? And I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. And she would smack us on the back of the head and you're like, oh, like, let me remember. She'd be like, what's the fourth commandment? I'm like, no sé, ma. Then she'd be like, ¿Cómo que no sabes? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, see, you heard me talk about it last night. And even sometimes, or not sometimes, when we were growing up, we'd go to catecismo or Sunday school. And she would make us all go to her room. And we're like, oh, it's 10. We'd all pretend like we're sleeping. She'd be like, man. She would come and shake us out of bed. And I'm like, what? And she'd be like, we're going to pray and do the commandments. And I was like, okay. And we'd all stand there like, oh, you know how teenagers are like,
oh man.
I don't want to be there. And she's like, what's the first one? And I'm like, because none of us knew, so we're like,
trying to look at it.
I don't know. And she's like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, no se van hasta que me lo digan. You're not leaving until you tell me. And I'm like, I don't know. You won't kill. And she's like,
do not kill.
She's like, no. I'm like,
oh, that's not the first one.
No, I think it's Amaras. I think it's you should love God over all things. I think that's the first one. And so I was like, I don't know. And then we'd start praying, and we always knew the prayers because we were in Sunday school, so we always knew them. But in the moment, you're like, I don't want to do this. But growing up, I'm like, I miss those times being with my mom. I miss being in the room with her and being upset and her smacking us because she wasn't doing anything bad. She was doing it for our benefit, for the benefit of us. And so I do miss that. And that's why when I go to church, like even if I'm tired, I do my best to pay attention. I read the scripture to myself. And after she actually built this room in our church where like they hang the Virgin Mary up. And I go in there every Sunday, and when she had her brain aneurysm, it was leading up to how they do the crucifixion of Christ. So they were like leading up to it. She was going to do the play. She was the one running everything. She ran it almost the entire time she was alive.
Damn.
And so she was running it this year, and she was actually hugging the cross, and she was hugging it, and she had her brain aneurysm, fell to the ground, and never woke up again. What? And so that cross we had that she basically died on, we hung up in our church. And so every Sunday I'm like, te vengo a ver el domingo que viene, ma. I'll come see you next Sunday. And so every Sunday I walk in there, I pray, I ask her for her help, ask her for her guidance. And it's just something I do now because she taught me that. She set the example, like you said. And it's kind of grown from there. Same way I've grown in music, I've grown with myself, with my with the way I believe in church, the way I believe in God, everything. So
Yeah, that's because Jesus came down to show us by example. Like he's the one that came, like he came down and he showed us not to, not to do this, not to do that. He was a perfect man. Nobody could find a flaw in him.
What I liked that I learned the other day was, oh, not that I learned, but that I finally listened to was our priest was like, um, he sent people would kill their lambs on every Sunday. They would do this, and he was like, we don't need that anymore.
Yep.
You don't need to sacrifice this. He did it for you. So anything you want to do, just do it, but do it in the eye and do it in the way that you believe in God. And I was like,
yeah, because before Jesus, we used to have to for every time we made a mistake or sin, we would have to take a perfectly good animal and not we, but the people in the back of the day, they would sacrifice a perfect. So God sent his son to come down, die for our sins, so we don't have to.
We don't have to do anything like that. We don't have to hurt his creatures. We don't have to hurt ourselves.
No.
You're doing it as long as you believe in God, and you just follow his rules, which the rules aren't that hard to follow, which is something I always thought was dumb when people would be like, oh, I don't want to have to follow his rules. I don't want to follow God. I don't want to have to do this. But it's like, what are you following? You're going to love him above all things. You're not going to kill anyone. You're not going to rob anyone. You're not going to commit adultery. It's things that like you should be doing already.
Of course.
Because like you shouldn't be killing people. You shouldn't be robbing people. You shouldn't be looking at another person when you're in a relationship. Yeah. You shouldn't be lusting over someone.
Lusting over somebody else's woman or anything.
So it's like, what actually is he asking us to do? And I watched this in actually The Big Bang Theory when I was younger. They were like, if all else fails, if it wasn't true, and actually no, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. If all else fails, if nothing is true, what did it hurt you to believe? Yep. You believe in so many dumb things you see on social media. You believe in so many dumb things your friends say. What did it actually cause you to believe? Yep. You're not believing anything bad. You're not. A lot of people use it to defend things, but as long as you know what you believe in, as long as you know what you believe in is true, then those people who believe in it for the wrong reasons aren't going to manipulate you. You're going to push them aside and say, no, I believe in him, not in you, not in what you're telling me to believe in, but I believe in what's actually written. Yep. So that's what I always looked at. And when people would be like, oh, I don't want to go to church, I don't want to listen. It's like, but you go to school, you go to your friend's house, you go to your mom and you listen to what she says. Why not go to exactly what is written and read it?
Yeah, because the thing is, to tell you the truth, if we don't have a God, if we don't look at God or Jesus Christ as our Savior, or because like if not, we'll let something else take over. Yeah, we'll let
you'll let sins take over. Yeah. You'll let the temptation, which is something I just realized. I was like, why did I do this when I was younger? Even for the most mundane things, I was like, it's just temptation. There's no other reason for it. It was just the temptation got to me, and I was like, temptation can cause you to do some of the stupidest things in the world, and it's like, if you just put it aside, if you just sit for 1 second, and like I said, you ask for wisdom rather than power. You're gonna find so much more with the wisdom. You're gonna see such a better life. So it's like, don't just ask for things. Stick to them, and it'll work out for itself. But if you're looking for power, like when I was younger, I would tell my friends like, "Oh, I'm praying for superpowers," but it's like obviously that wasn't gonna come true. But if I would have asked for the knowledge, which eventually I did, when I was failing in 5th grade, I was like, "Just give me the knowledge." And the next one, it was at the end of winter break when I was failing, and I didn't want to tell my mom. So I was like, please just give me the power to move on so that I don't fail. I went into school for our meetings, and my teacher was like, well, Luis is failing. I was like, chinga su madre. I was like, why?
Why did you tell her?
And she was like, but we think he's failing because he can't see. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not blind. She was like, no, but you need glasses. And I was like, oh. And as soon as I got glasses and my grades went back up, I was able to focus more. And I was like, it had to happen. Like, it had to happen for me to receive this. So it was like, it's going to work out as long as you believe in it, as long as you're asking for the right things. Because if you're asking, like I did when my mom was dying, I was like, just give me her. I just want her. But I was like, the more I thought about it, the more I sat there, I was like, she doesn't want to be here. We were all so bad to her when she was alive. Not like to the point where she was like hated us, but I was like, I wish I didn't do these things. And the only thing she used to tell us when she was upset, when she was happy, when she was angry was, I want to be with him. I want to be with him one day. I want to find him. I want to be at his side. And when she died, I was like, she got what she wanted. Like not in like she got what she wanted, but like she got where she wanted to be. She didn't want to suffer here anymore. We were kind of poor growing up. She didn't want to have to deal with all the consequences of our actions. So when she died, it kind of helped us get in order because we were like, we don't have our mom anymore. And when she died, we knew she got where she wanted to go. So it was like, we never thought it was a bad thing. We never thought, oh, you know, our mom's gone. She left us. She abandoned us. We were like, she's gone.
Yeah.
Is what it is. We keep moving like she taught us to. Because another thing that she told us before she died, all of our life growing up, when she was angry, and you've probably heard this, cuando me muera no lloren cabrones.
Yeah.
When I die, don't cry. And we're like,
Yeah.
and it was always when they were upset. They were like, when I die, you're gonna need me, you're gonna miss me. And we're like, no, we're not. We're gonna be happy. And you know, you'd sit there, you'd think it's like a teenager, you're like, oh, I don't need anybody. I just need myself. I'll be able to live off like ramen noodles, whatever. But when she passed, we were like, we really don't need her because she made us such independent characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I look at any of my siblings, even Sebastian, the youngest one, I'm sure he would be able to be by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I want him to be, but because my mom made us such strong individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody says anything to us, it might get under our skin initially, but as soon as we think about it, put a little bit more context behind it, we're like, what was the reason?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what my mom used to tell us. She would be like, no le hagas caso a tu hermano. Don't listen to him. And we're like, but he's right. He's calling me fat, you know? Mm-hmm. He's right. He's telling me for a reason. But
he used to pick on you.
Yeah, we never. Yeah, my mom would be like, no le hagas caso. Don't listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be like, we just grew up like that. We'd be in school. People wouldn't necessarily make fun of us, but they'd be like, why are you wearing that? And we're like, we want to.
Mm-hmm.
We're comfortable with it. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, people would be like, oh, why are you in the track team? You're bigger. And I'm like, and like, are you gonna run? Are you gonna run all the races by yourself? And they're like, no. And I'm like, exactly. So regardless, like my mom was always like, just do what makes you happy. Mm-hmm. Aside from music growing up, she still wanted us to find something more stable, which eventually she came around to it. But initially she was like, just do this for work. But everything else, she was like, just be happy. Yeah. Just find yourself. And it's funny because actually from there was where I found my new passion. My new favorite things is like rap, different things. And the reason I found that was, I don't know if you ever listened to Tyler the Creator's Call Me If You Get Lost album. But in that,
Tyler the Creator?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know who that is.
Yeah, in that album, he's specifically talking about like, call me if you get lost. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, oh, it's just the album cover. Because the entire album's like him talking about himself being rich and famous. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of gloating about it. And it was, the title really means call me if you get lost. Call me if you can make it to where you're just completely lost with yourself. Mm-hmm. You're just completely in love with yourself. And there's one interview where he's like, you know, if you don't like me, I love myself. I would do anything to make myself happy. And I actually wrote that on my wall in my room. And I was like, yeah, I would do that. Now that I'm happy with myself, I would do anything to make myself happy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's caused me to not go out with people when I don't feel comfortable. And it's caused me to just look at myself in a different manner. It's caused me to love what I write. Love even when I go to work, even though sometimes it can be stressful and annoying. Mm-hmm. It's like, I love what I do. I love who I am. I love who I'm becoming. Because I don't see myself as the way I used to. I don't see myself as the little fat kid who's running around, riding his bike outside, not really aiming for anything in life. Mm-hmm. I see myself as determined to get where I want. Yeah. And I'll get there by any means necessary, but I'm not going to get out of character for it. So I'm just going to continue to be myself. And that's why I love that album. Just call me if you get lost. Yeah. And it's like,
I'm going to have to listen to it.
Yeah. It's a really good album. One of my favorite songs on there is Wilshire. Wilshire's really good.
So now you do a little bit of rap here and there, right?
Yeah, I actually got asked the other day, they were like, so you're going to stop singing? I'm like, no. I just rapped like one time. And it was funny. Miggy kept telling me to get on the cipher. Yeah. He told me for like a month. And I was like, yeah, bro, I'll get on it. I'll write my part here next week. Yeah. And I just kept going over and he was like, you got your part? I'm like, no, not yet. He was like, just freestyle. I'm like, nah, I'll write it next week for sure. And I got to a point where I went over there one day and I was just sitting in his living room. I didn't even tell him I was there. I just pulled in, walked in. Eddie saw me. He's like, Luis? I was like, yeah, bro, what's up? He was like, what are you doing here? I was like, waiting for Miggy. I was acting like I was mad. So when Miggy came out, he'd be like, oh, why is Luis mad now? And I was like, I'm just gonna start writing the lyrics. I started listening to the beat, writing my lyrics. Within 10 minutes, I wrote it. And Miggy comes out and he's like, you didn't even tell me you were here. And I was like, nope. I'm like, still acting like I'm mad at him. And I'm like, nah, bro, you just leave me hanging. You don't want to hang out with me or nothing. And I still tell him that. That's my biggest tease to him. He'll get so mad. I'm like, nah, you don't want to hang out with me no more. You want to be with Jack. You want to be with Telany. You want to be with everybody else. But you want to hang out with me. And he's like, nah, bro. It's funny because me and him hang out all the time. We probably hang out more than anybody else. But that day I walk in there and I'm writing my lyrics. And he's like, all right, let's record it. And he's like, to be honest, bro, I don't know how you're about to sing on this. I was like, sing? They're like, yeah, what are you going to do? I was like, rap. I was like, y'all are rapping. I want to rap too. And so that thing I wrote in 10 minutes took us 2 hours to record. Because Miggy was like, nah, say it like this. I would say it like that. And he was like, all right, now say this part like this. And I was just cutting in and out, deleting it in and out. And we recorded it that night. And I was like, I don't think he likes it. And he never had me re-record it. He had, like, even now, he'll still have me re-record parts over and over and over again. but he never had me re-record that song. And he was like, no, I like it. He had me ad-lib on it that same night. And it was cool just getting to do it. So I was like, I don't know how to rap. And I was like getting to see the whole experience. I was like, oh, I feel like a rapper now. I feel like a real musician. And then we ended up doing this other song a couple months later, like a couple weeks ago actually, where he was like, just try freestyling. And I was like, all right. And I freestyled and he was making fun of me. He was like, why'd you freestyle like that? Why'd you say that? And I'm like, all right, bro. Like you told me to do it. You can't just judge me and start making fun of me now. Yeah. And we ended up recording it. And I was like, I'm just going to write it down. And again, I just write it down like 10 minutes. And he's like, all right, just try this. And we recorded it and we posted it. We did it in like one night. We recorded it and posted it in that one night. Recorded a little music video for it. And it was just using like our $50 camera that we bought. I was like, yeah, it's cool. Like it's just us.
Yeah.
It's us at like our most personal level. Like we're just in the studio making a song and making a video. Whether it's good, bad, sucks, it's the worst song you've ever heard, your favorite. We made it.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
Yeah,
you guys are just sitting there like in the studio.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of people don't even get the nerve to do that. They'll record it and delete it, and it's like we just did it.
No, you guys got to do it.
We're like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
If it blows up, it blows up. I didn't think it would, and he didn't think it would either. We were like, let's just do it. Let's just do it, post it, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, you gotta keep going and keep trying. Look at this. I keep going and keep trying. Every week I put out an episode. You just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Eventually, one day I might get something.
Right. Maybe you'll get like 1 million views, and you're like, oh, that just on the one video. But you're like, I got there, and it's like you got the satisfaction of working for it, and it's like you got to bring up everybody else with you, and it's just the potential of that happening rather than not feels a lot better. It's like when you really look at it, do you want to just sit in the studio, listen to Miggy make his music while you don't do anything? Or do you want to take a risk and maybe reach for the stars? It's like, I'd rather do that than just sit there.
Yeah. You might as well. If you're going to be in there and you know how to sing, you could figure out the rap thing too. Just gotta, you gotta write it down. Maybe you probably feel better writing it down so you can have more, instead of freestyling.
And that's actually what my music teacher commented on one of my videos. She was like, where like the roast video where he's like, oh, Luis gets a B. She commented, she was like, he was right in everything he said. You're not singing it. You're not rapping it. You're rapping it like you're singing it. You have a lot more breath. You have a lot more support. I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Why mine sounded differently. It didn't sound bad. It just sounds different than everybody else.
Because there's a guy that like that
he was like, I don't know what
you guys.
He was like, I don't know what he's saying. He's like, taka.
Yeah, that was so funny. That was a good video.
It was funny. I was like, I got to the end and they gave it an F, and I was like, he didn't deserve an F. We were just weak. We were like, But that video was hilarious.
I'm trying to get that guy to be on a podcast.
Oh, that would be funny. That'd be cool.
Jody guy.
Yeah, Jody Too Good. Yep.
Yeah. He's from Toledo.
I did see that. I didn't know that. Miggy just hit us up. He was like, hey, I got this dude to look at the song. I was like, cool. I didn't think too much of it, but it was funny. It was a lot funnier than I thought.
It was cool. He had the Mexican hat on.
Yeah. He had a white beater on. Yep.
Yeah. He was doing that. So I messaged him the other day. He said that he's kind of busy right now, so he's gonna get back to me. But just try to get as many people to sit down with me, because to me this is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun just to sit here with someone.
And I think that's something a lot of people don't do anymore, where like they just talk. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, growing up, my mom used to go to my aunt's house, my cousin's house on the weekends, just sit there and talk. And a lot of people are so engaged in their phones, they don't take the time to talk to anybody anymore. Yeah. Like me and Miggy will sit there in the studio and just talk. And we're like, this is weird, but we're just talking. We're not working on music, we're not doing anything, but we're telling each other how we feel. We're telling each other what we experience in life. And it's like, it helps us grow as people, because you're like, oh, they're experiencing this, it might be similar to me. And I kind of miss that. A lot of people don't do that anymore, where they just sit down to someone, listen and talk. Yeah.
Most people, if you go to a restaurant, everybody's on their phone. Everybody's on their phone everywhere. The kids are on their phone.
People used to laugh, used to look up. You're like, shut up. But now it's like, why is it so quiet in Olive Garden at 6 p.m. on a Saturday?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So that's why I love this. I love sitting down and it's with a different person every week, and I get to know their life and their story. And it's kind of like, to me, it's like a long form, because you might go to the radio, and there's like 3 minutes. You're like, but this is actually, we actually get your life story.
Like you get to talk to someone about yourself. I like to talk about myself. So like I said, like I don't have the biggest ego, but I do just love myself. So I'll talk about myself all day. But it's like, a lot of people, like you said, you go to the restaurant or even just in passing, like they don't really talk to you anymore. Like it's almost like a radio show. Yeah. You got like a set time that they're working with. But it's like if I talk to someone, I'll stand there and talk to them. Just the other day at a mariachi rehearsal that I told you about at BG, and me and the leader of the group, Eliana, I think her name is, just kind of sat there for an hour just talking. It was like we weren't talking about anything specific. It was just like chopping it up, telling each other where our likes are in music, why she's studying music, why I left school, and it was just talking. Like there was no time frame. There was no reason to be there. It was just you wanted somebody's company, you wanted somebody to be there, and we were just in the music building. We were like, why not just talk?
Yeah, that's the way. That's how my podcast is. There's no time limit. We just talk and we get to know each other. And then whenever you basically get done with your story, then I'll say, hey, that's it. That's the way we got to do it. I feel like it helps with everything that you're gonna do in your future. Like you're doing music, you're eventually gonna have to talk to media. You're eventually, even at your work, you're gonna have to talk to your bosses. You're gonna have to talk. So I let young kids, grown adults, whoever on my podcast, just to get them practicing talking.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just like it's kind of like repetition makes you better at anything.
That's how I felt with performing, because it was like at first, I'll admit I was very stiff, and I'd go up there and just kind of sing. To be fair, it was more of my back. That's the reason why. Because even in high school, I'd fling my hair over on when I had long hair. I'd be like, like just do like the things that I would see other people doing.
Yeah.
So when I got to kind of Toledo that talent, so I was a little bit more discouraged because I couldn't walk. But just being able to be up there all the time, and then this year I came back and my stage performance was way better. Over the summer, I had sang with Miggy at some clubs, so it was like I got to perform the way I wanted to, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
So the repetition of everything has made you better and better.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's take one little break. I gotta check the camera. So where do you go to work out at?
I go to the YMCA in Oregon.
Yeah, that's good. I used to go there when I was younger.
Oh, really? I see. Who was it that I saw the other day? Julia's uncle. I can't remember his name right now, but I saw him the other day. He's in Grupo de Deseo. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he goes there every once in a while. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good little spot. They got pools.
They got the sauna. Yeah, they got the steam room now.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and they got the whole workout thing. They got a track.
And it's usually real empty in there.
Oh,
just a bunch of old people, but it's usually more empty.
I used to go there when I was young, man. I grew up on the east side too. I went to Oakdale. Yeah. And I went to Wait High School.
Oh, really?
But
I didn't know you went to Wait.
Yeah, I ended up dropping out in 9th grade and getting a job because my whole family went to jail. All the men in my family went to jail. So me and my mom went into the dean's office or whatever, the principal, and we signed me out, and she got me a job at Mommy Bay Brewing Company.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, and I started being a dishwasher, and then I would give my mom my check every week because all my uncles, my grandpa, like 7 of my uncles, all my cousins, all the men in my family got caught in a big drug conspiracy, and they all went to jail for like 20 years, 10 years. So I had to grow up fast. I got out of school, and I just became a man like right away. And I would give my mom my whole check every week. And then little by little, like I've always worked with my mom. I've always had jobs with my mom. We worked at Holiday and French Quarters together, Mommy Bay Brewing Company together, at Norplast. There's like a factory called Norplast. Me and my mom worked there together. And then I got caught up in this thing where I got caught up in a drug indictment because I was trying to hustle on the side. I always had a job, but I tried to hustle on the side. And by me hustling on the side, I got caught up into some stuff. And I ended up going to prison for like 3.5 years. I went to immigration. I lost all my papers because I was born in Cuba. So I came here when I was 6 months old. So then when I got out, I was like, what do I do I was like you, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do, with my life? I just got out of prison. So my mom was already cleaning a few houses. My mom had like about 10, 15 houses she had. So I said, let's just start a full-blown cleaning business. And me and my mom just little by little just started a business, and we're growing and growing and growing. And then the whole time I was cleaning, I was listening to podcasts. And I was like, man, I like podcasts. I think I'm going to start my own podcast. I'll tell them my prison story, and then I'll go from there and just tell them. And then at first I would just did by myself, a couple episodes by myself. And then eventually I said, I'm running out of things to talk about myself. So then I wanted to sit down, and I had start interviewing people. And I would do it in my garage, renting Airbnbs, hotels. And then even I used to rent the other office over there. And then one day that office was locked. And the guy said I could come in here. And I looked, and I was like, what the heck? And I did a podcast here. I talked to the landlord, and he rented it to me. And I started this ever since then. I've been doing this. And this doesn't bring me any money, but I have my sponsors.
Yeah.
My sponsors.
So you're also not putting money into it. Yeah.
Yeah. My sponsors is what? So I got Revive Health, Restore Hyper Wellness, Maria Escobar. She sells Avon, and she does like the stuff at the casino. She's like the voice of the casino.
Okay.
I got Off the Chain Bullies and Wildside Brewing downtown, which is right here, like down the street.
Yeah.
And they each pay me $100 a month, so it covers my studio. And then like that, I'll never have to charge my guests.
Yeah.
So it's like a win-win-win.
Openly talk to them, not have to worry about times. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you win because you get your word out. I win because I get to everything paid. And they win because like I haven't been going like my like 2-hour video doesn't do as many good numbers, but I break it up into shorts. So this whole conversation, I'm going to break it up into like 40 shorts. And some of those shorts get 1,800 views, 1,500 views. It just depends, on what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So I'll put that on my shorts, and that's where I've been getting like 50,000 views a month. And then these things are like in the background. So it's kind of like McDonald's. McDonald's ain't the best burger, but if you think about, if
you look at their marketing and everything.
Yeah, because it's everywhere. Coca-Cola is not the best Coca-Cola in the whole world, but it's everywhere. So really the trick is to be able to see things. When you see things, you're like, oh, Wildside downtown. Let's go check it out, So that's kind of like, and like you guys could do that too. Mm-hmm. Like I've been thinking about that. Like you guys with all this, you guys got a good network of rappers and, singers. I think you guys should like get a little, there's like a bunch of little offices around here.
Me and Miggy got a studio up here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we got one right by the the Huntington Center.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Damn, well, you guys got to invite me over there.
We got a little studio. I think it's like a little bit smaller than this one.
Yeah.
Like half the size, actually.
That's cool. Yeah. I didn't know that. See? That's awesome. And then I was thinking too, like you guys could eventually, I mean, it's going to take a while because you guys got to, save up the money and stuff, but have like a little venue. I was telling Jack about it.
I was thinking, me and Miggy were thinking, if not this year, because it's almost the end of the year, maybe next year, but we want to get the Eastside Cantina and hold like a little rappers thing. Yeah. So it's like a bunch of people go there. It's right in the center of the East Side. Yep. East Side, South Side people can come. Right next to the North Side too. So it's anybody can really come if they want to. Yeah. And I was like, that'd be cool if me and Miggy got that going, got a bunch of people to go. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. That's how you do it. You guys start eventually promoting your own shows. And I want to do this something. I want to do like right now you're guest 105 or 106. So I've built this network of 106 people that sat down right here with me. Mm-hmm. So one day, if I can have like a podcast show, and I have artists on there, and I have DJs, because I've interviewed everybody. I've interviewed DJs, artists, you know, and we can have like like a dinner, and we can all sit down. I do like a live podcast, like I'll sit down like on stage with somebody, like to the side, like before they go up or after. Yeah, like maybe you guys can come out, do a couple songs, and then I can boom while like the DJ's playing. Yeah, you do like a live podcast with somebody. I want somebody like kind of more bigger name. You know, that'd be cool. Like imagine if I can get like, the local boxer. There's like Jared Anderson or somebody cool like that, and just do like where I can sell merch, and you guys all can. I already been thinking about it so much. I just haven't had. Yeah, we'll have to connect with you then once we actually do it. Because me and Miggy, like I said, if not this year, because it's getting towards the end, it'll be like cold. Yeah. Definitely next year in the summer. Like next summer. Next summer, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, because I like that whole carne asada thing. The only thing is I was gonna go, but I had a different thing that it was the same day as the Latin American festival. Oh, I didn't even know that. With Celia and them. And it was a bunch of people singing. Even like that thing you said your brother danced. Yeah, Corazón de Mexico. They were there. Mm-hmm. They were dancing there. So I already had like prearranged something, and I didn't get to go. I wanted to go and not rap or nothing. Yeah. Just to go. I like to support you guys, man. I think you guys are fire, all you guys, And not only that, I wanna be able to have like not only just, this is not just, this podcast. No, it's like a friendship. Mm-hmm. So like me and you can be able to like do things later on in the future. I'm never going to stop this podcast. Oh yeah. This ain't going to be the last time you're going to be on here. We'll start, I was actually going to tell you, because I plan on releasing an album in April. Mm-hmm. So I was like, around that time, I'd want to come back. That'd be cool. And promote that. And then you just have to let me know ahead of time. And then I would remember like watching people perform and them being like, like Mike, when Michael Jackson would come out, and it was even Michael Jackson is simpler than Luis Gamez.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to be something that's going to grab people's attention. And because some people are even called Chino. So maybe it'll bring like some familiarity to them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to be called Chino. Just because it meant something to me. It's a lot more familiar and it's a lot easier to be known as Chino. And like I said, people would call me Luis Gamez. Last time I performed with Miggy, it was Luis Gamez. So it was like, I think Chino is just a better way to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that would be good because you got to put on a persona and like become like
you got to become the person. You can't just, like I was saying, you can't just be Luis Gamez all the time. People look at me and they're like, oh, it's just Luis Gamez. It's just the dude from the East Side who sings and raps. But it's like I wanted to become much more than that, especially with my own music. When I release my own album, I want to be Chino, where I want to talk about in-depth things. Like I said, about like cap rap and stuff, where people are like, oh, you know.
Because of the cipher.
Right. People are looking at the cipher and being like, no, you can't just say these things and not really be about it, which most of the people on there are about it. Surprisingly enough, I didn't know that until after, but they really are about it. And so when people would be like, oh, you know, you can't talk like this. And even people would make fun of my Spanish and be like, he doesn't really speak Spanish, which I thought was so weird because I've been fluent in Spanish my entire life. So it's like when people say those things and they're like, oh, cap rap this, cap rap that, it doesn't make any sense to me. Because like we were talking, like I want to put in a song, it's like, you talk about cap rap, boy, what even is that? What does that mean? What do you think it means? Because obviously you just think it means I'm killing, if I talk about killing people, I'm killing them, which I guess in its essence is lying, it's capping, but it's like, I would much rather cap than actually do it. And like I said, we're all pulling from the same thing anyways. So,
or selling drugs.
Right,
or
selling
whatever.
drugs, doing whatever. It's like, it's not cap rap because we're all pulling from the same story. We're all pulling from the same thing. We're all from Toledo. We all really know what it's like. It's like, you can't go to somebody on the north side and be like, you don't know what the east side it's like, because they're very similar. It's like a lot of people are scared to come over the bridge and come into the east side or south side. And it's like, it's the same thing. Different people who talk about different things, who everybody just is engulfed in their own world. And rather than people just talking it out, they just immediately sit and judge. It's like, you couldn't sit there and write music. You couldn't sit there and make a song, even if it is cap rap, even if you lie the entire time. I can guarantee the people who talk about it wouldn't be able to be like, just write something that's poetic, that's lyrical, that's perfect the first time. It takes practice. And that's what we're doing here on a smaller scale in Toledo. We're cap rapping, but we're doing it in a much better light. Whereas some of these rappers, like I'm sure you know, I'm personally not a big fan of a lot of the rappers in Toledo. And not because... not because like the person, even the person, like I said, they tend to be, not all of them, but most of them tend to be very stuck up, tend to be like, nah, my music's the best. And it's cool to have that as your persona, if that's your stage presence. But once you're actually being that person and you're not being personable at all, nobody's going to relate to you. Nobody relates to somebody being 100% fake all of the time. So it's like, if anything, you're being the biggest cap rap. And even then, I personally don't like a lot of their music, just music. It doesn't really have any substance to it. Me and Miggy talk about this a lot because he's like, what are we really saying? And I'll explain my part to him and I'll tell him what my part is saying and he'll do the same to me. And we're just having that mutual conversation where we're not joking, we're not laughing, we're just explaining it. Because if you can explain it to him, I can explain it to you on a podcast. I can explain it to somebody on the news. Like when we got invited to do the Siete Dias on the news. Some people didn't like it. Some people commented on our post and were like, what are we going to do? Be offended? Like, oh no, Miggy, so-and-so said our song sucks. We need to delete it. We got invited on the news. Who else in Toledo has been on the news to rap their song? So it's like, even if our song is cap rap, even if I go out tomorrow and I'm like, oh, I killed Miggy and I put him in my garage and he's there, Miggy's not going to look at me and be like, you really feel that way about me? You feel that type of way about me? No. He's just like, it's our song. It's the way we felt in the moment of making it. And it's something that I'm so passionate about. And I know Miggy's passionate about it too, because we've talked about it. And like we were talking about earlier, a lot of people don't talk anymore. They choose to just talk over someone. They don't really listen. They don't take in anything. And I saw this post the other day where they were saying, you really just have to sit down and listen to someone. You can't let it offend you. You can't be thinking of the next word so that you know, oh, I'm going to get my point across. You just have to sit there and listen. And once you listen, once you start listening to yourself and other people, then you can really write. And even if it is cap rap, you're still writing from a place that you know. You're still writing from a place of something that you understand. So it's those people who are commenting on the post and being like, oh, he's not really from it. He's not really about it. Sit down. You're just a little boy. So what? I am a little boy. I'm 5'6", 20 years old, writing a song that you're getting upset about as a 30-year-old man. Like, calm down.
And anyways, those comments are helping you guys.
Yeah,
it doesn't
they're
matter
giving
if
us
it's
more
negative.
publicity. They're giving us more everything. So it's like at the end of the day, if you just kept that rage to yourself and you're just confident in yourself and really just believed, oh, this sucks, you just move along. Same way I don't comment on all their posts and I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. I might show it to me and be like, bro, listen to these lyrics, but it's like there's no point in giving them the view, giving them the satisfaction.
But you don't interact with them.
Right.
You don't like belittle them or anything.
Right. It's like, I don't like it. It's my opinion.
Of course.
There's 20 other people commenting, fire, best song of 2024, best video ever made. But it's like, first of all, that's not true because there's a bunch of other songs that are way better. There's a bunch of other video qualities, sound quality that's a lot better. Second of all, it's like, it's not even just the way it is. I personally feel like they could add a lot more to their music. These artists in Toledo could just carry more substance in it. So it's when people talk about cap rap like that, it's just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Because we're all pulling from the same thing. We're all trying to get the same message across. And then you're just spreading a message that nobody really listens to. That's not relatable. Because nobody really thinks about that.
But you don't really talk about any of that kind
right,
of stuff.
I don't. But like on our song, even we didn't. So when we were getting called out for cap rap, I'm like
you didn't do
like,
nothing.
boy, what even is that? What do you mean by cap rap? We're just talking. I'm talking about, my lyrics literally go, todos se quedan preguntando qué pudo pasar cuando nos juntamos. Everybody stays thinking, what could have happened when we joined like forces?
Yeah.
And it's like when you hear the song, you're like, who are these people? Tony, Miggy, Paco, who are they? And it's like, that's my verse. So it's like, how is that at any point cap rap?
Yeah.
That's me literally saying what we're doing. So it's like when people look at it and they're like, oh, this sucks, this is stupid. Listen to it. Listen to what we're saying. It makes more sense once you actually turn the ear off. Like I said, even with Miggy, I had to turn my ear off and listen to Cash Out Miggy.
He has like a persona, like when he raps, and then when he's just regular, your friend, that's Miggy.
When we go out, it's like, oh, I'm hanging out with Miggy. You know, we'll BS, we'll chop it up about anybody, we'll talk about girls, whatever. But when I'm with Miggy in the studio, even he's had to tell me like, bro, like just focus. He's like, let's lock in, bro, let's lock in. And I'm like, I don't feel like it today. Like I told you, I put off recording the cipher for so long. He told me like for months. He was like, Luis, I got the cipher coming up. We should do it. We should write your part. What do you got so far? I just didn't have anything until one day I just sat down and I was like, this is easy. I'm just gonna do it. And I did it. We made the cipher and look at us now. But I got a list of friends that I can call on at the drop of a dime. And I'm like, hey bro, you think you can help me? You think you can pick me up? You can do this for me? I've hit Paco up where I'm just like, hey bro, what are you up to? I text him every once in a while. I've hit Swin up about the different controversies we've had in Toledo, even just in the music scene, because I'm sure you know there's people in Toledo that don't have your best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
They just want their money. And I've just ran into that. So it's like, there's people who just don't care and just want to talk about you and just put you down. But it's like I said, just have them do it. Have the promoters go up and sing. They can't. Have them put the energy and love they have into their music. They can't. They're just there for the money, which on its own, sure, go for the money, promote, but don't expect people to follow you and appreciate and respect you at most if you're not putting their best interests at heart.
Yeah. So what's the goal that you're working on? What's the thing that you're working on right now?
I want to make an album. It's going to be called Por fin 21, Finally 21.
Okay.
And one of the last songs is going to be like a party song, but the rest of this album is going to be me talking about growing up. And not necessarily growing up, but growing up as like a person. Going through the experiences I went through, the different things I experienced emotionally. It's a lot of the things that Toledo rappers don't really talk about. Like Miggy does. You've heard Miggy talk about his mom passing, his brother, his dad, his whole family situation.
His uncle being in jail.
Exactly. And it's a lot of things, people tend to put that aside and they put their ego first. They're like, oh no, I'm this person. But nobody can relate to that, like I said. I want to have more substance. I want somebody to be like, this is Chino. Chino's a lot, not softer, but personable. I can relate to his heartaches. I can relate to his happiness, to his joy. And that's just something that I think is missing in the Toledo scene, at least. You hear people talk about going to party and doing this. And like I said, that's what I want mine to end on a high note, because I'm finally 21. I get to go out and party. But the rest of it's going to be me building up to being 21. Okay. So that's the concept behind the album.
Yeah. And it comes out right before your birthday?
Not before my birthday. It comes out, I want to release on the day my mom died. Oh. Okay. So just have it mean that much more. Yeah. So if it sucks, then I can be like, oh yeah, you're probably right. It sucks. No, I don't want it to suck. But if it sucks, I'm like, oh, maybe I should look
So we'll promote it when we get around that time.
And the thing I think is cool is, like I said, I kind of grew up singing not mariachi, but I grew up listening to Los Angeles Azules, Los YOGI'S, Michael Jackson, Bruno Mars. So I've kind of learned to sing everything. So on this album, I want to start off with every single genre I know. I want to put some mariachi. I want to put a cumbia on there. Maybe not a bachata, but a slower rhythm song too. And it's just so, and I'm going to structure it in a way that I listen to music. So even if somebody doesn't like it, I'm like, but that's how I listen to it. So it's going to be like slow, going to Mexican music, because that's how I always listen to it. You know, you start getting the rhythm of the music. And then you go into rap, and then you go into really like aggressive rap. And the last song is the going out song. You turn 21, so you're there. You get to go out. You get to enjoy life. You get to do all this because you've experienced everything else before it.
Damn, that's awesome. So it's like a story of your life, kind of, a little bit. And then you're working with a song with somebody that you...
Stephanie Sanchez, from Toledo Top Talent. It's a smaller song. It's called Puppy Kind of Love that I want to put on the album too. And like I mentioned, it's just a song that talks about like the first stage of love, where you're just infatuated with the person. And it's not necessarily lust, but it's the companionship you're achieving for the first time in a while. And it's the puppy stage of love. So that's what the entire song's about. That song's going to be on the album, but it's also going to come out before the album to kind of get some...
Like promoted a little bit.
So we're recording it this weekend, actually, on Saturday. So I want to release it within the next 2 weeks or so.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. All right. So I want to ask you some fun questions. You know, if your life was a movie, what would be the name of the movie?
So I don't know if I'd want it to be a movie, but if it was a movie or even a show, it would be called Chino. Because I want it to be very direct. I want people to understand what it's going to be about. It's just going to be about me. And like I said, it's not necessarily going to be a sad movie, because I wouldn't see my life as being sad. I've learned a lot of things. I've experienced a lot of things, even at the age of 20. Not necessarily like, oh, I've gone to like Hawaii and type things like that, but I've things emotionally that have helped me mature as a person, to where I can go out and just enjoy those things and look past, you know, I got work tomorrow. My mom passed away. I'd want her to be here. I've experienced enough to where I can just live life and be happy with whatever stage I'm in. So that's what I want it to be, Chino, and have it be a story about my life. Not sad, not happy, kind of bittersweet, because it's just my life. But then I got past it. That's why I wouldn't really want it to be a movie, more of like a show. So you can watch each portion individually.
Almost like your album.
Yeah, like my album.
Almost like broke up into episodes.
Yep, exactly.
That'd be sweet. All right, so how about a dream vacation that you would love to go for somewhere?
I definitely want to go to where Jesus was crucified. One of the last things my mom told me she wanted to do, she had a whole list, because I told you, her mind was racing all the time, but she said she wanted to go visit Jesus, where at least where he was crucified. And she would tell me, you know, algún día me vas a ayudar, algún día me vas a poder hacerlo, algún día me vas a sacar mis papeles, you're going to give me my papers and you're going to take me. And in the moment, I was like, I don't want to go. It's just a bunch of sand. But then I started to realize that this was something that she really wanted. If she couldn't visit him yet in spiritual form, she wanted to visit him in her mortal physical form. So she wanted to go there and just feel his presence. And I've told all my friends that eventually, when I get rich and famous, if I do, you know, God willing, I do. But if I do, that's the first thing I want to do, is visit that for my mom.
Yeah, you don't even have to be rich and famous. Just, you know.
Yeah, just enough money, be comfortable enough. Yeah.
Comfortable. I mean, the thing is, Luis, just keep working, keep grinding, keep believing in God, and keep creating yourself every day, like little by little. As long as you have faith in God, He's going to show you the way.
Oh, for sure. My mom used to say, no pidas y no te ayudes. Don't ask and don't be willing to help yourself. Because you can't just ask. Like if I ask you for $20, I'm like, I'll pay you back. Then I ask you next week for $20 and next week, and I never pay you back. You're going to eventually be like, no. What is this dude on? No. Like he has to help himself too. So that's what my mom used to say, you know, you have to help yourself. You can't just be like, can you give me all this money and be a bum on the street? That's why now I don't ask for money at all. I don't ask for any type of power. I don't ask for even him to write my music. I'm just like, give me the wisdom, give me the strength that you gave your disciples, and I will figure it out. I'll do it for myself, not for my glory, not for my power, not for my well-being, but for yours, to continue your legacy and continue your story here and inspire potentially, if not million of people, even one person that listens to this.
Even one person. That's what we got to do. And then right now you're single right now. You're not. Are you looking for a girl? Or?
Not right now. I'm happy with where I am. I'm comfortable. Finally started to save up money. Like I told you, lost a bit of weight. Used to weigh 255 when I broke up with my girlfriend, at 225 now. So trying to get back down to 180. Maybe at 180, I'll start looking a little bit. But for now, just getting comfortable.
You're grinding.
Grinding.
Creating yourself.
recreating myself from what I was before. Because before I was just, I was kind of like a lazy bum, be at home, partially because of my back. But even now that I've discovered, if I would have just got up and done it, I would have been done and out of that phase a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's like now that I'm experiencing that, I know if you just do it, it'll work out. Like, don't even think, just go.
Yeah.
Then it'll work out. So
yeah,
once I get more into that mindset and even more in depth into it, I think then I'll be comfortable to potentially look around. But now I'm just,
that's dope.
Just being me.
Yeah, just keep being you, keep doing you. And is there any? And do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, for sure. My friends, my coworkers, they're sick of hearing me talk, so they're probably not going to listen to the entire podcast, but I'm going to show them the end at least.
Yeah.
Autumn, Emily, Ashley, you guys are like the main people I talk to at work. Vicky, because you guys just listen to me yap all day. My siblings, my younger siblings, my dad, my older siblings, my older brothers, my sister, my nieces, Mia and Olivia, because all they ever do when I come around them is like talk about my singing. One time my niece asked me why I was screaming when I was singing. So I was like, I took that to heart, but I was like, you know, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And then my friend Jackie, who's just been kind of there with me on most weekends when I want to go out and just have fun. And she's helped me get into the mariachi at BG. So thank you to her and Miggy, everybody else, Gabe, all of them.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let's do a little prayer and then we'll end it there, okay? Our Father up in heaven, thank you so much for everything you do for me and Luis. Keep guiding us the right way and keep showing us how to become the men that you want us to become so we can, help out the youth and create a friendship, me and him, so we can inspire people and become a better person. Father God, we just ask for knowledge so we can keep grinding and keep creating a better person for ourselves so we can one day inspire the youth and create something beautiful here in Toledo and hopefully all around the world. Father God, we appreciate you so much and we love you so much. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen. Have faith, show love, give hope, let go, and let God.